We're here with Greg Biggins, national recruiting analyst for 24/7 Sports. We're going to talk about Miami commit tight end Elija Lofton. You cover the West Coast. He's out there in Las Vegas playing for the prestigious program in Bishop Gorman. Elija, what are your thoughts on Miami's always trying to stack tight ends to their class, to their roster? What do you think of Elija?
No, he's a really good football player. You know, they play a huge stage. For those who aren't super familiar with Bishop Gorman, it's a top 5 perennial program. You know, out west, there's 3 kind of power programs, Mater Dei and St. John Bosco, and Bishop Gorman is right there with them. And I think I've already seen them preseason number 2 for next fall. And, Elija is a big part of that. They played Mater Dei last year. He had over 100 yards. I watched that game. So, it's interesting. I know, Blair Angulo out here, he comps him to Devin Jordan, who played at Miami and Gorman. So that's probably an easy one. And I think a lot of it's just because of the frame. He's not your, prototypical 6'6" tight end. He's more than that 6'2", maybe on a good day, 6'2.5" range. But he's a physical kid. He runs well. He's a natural pass catcher, strong hands, really versatile. I talked to some schools who thought he could be, an outstanding linebacker, an H-back, a fullback. So depending on what your need is, he's a guy who can fill a lot of different holes. Obviously, his desire is tight end. Miami wants to play him as a tight end, and I think he can definitely play tight end. Again, he's a thick, strong, physical kid. He doesn't mind blocking. He's a very willing blocker. I already mentioned athleticism. He can run and catch and do all those kind of things. So highly productive. Not every high school uses the tight end. Gorman does. So he'll come in as an experienced pass catcher, right? Not to teach him a lot of new things, route tree. He already understands all that. So nice pickup. I know every school out here wanted him badly. I think Utah might have been the runner-up, or at least they were pushing hard. So was Washington. 2 schools out Pac-12 wise in my area who do a great job with the tight ends, and they loved him. So for those fans kind of wondering, hey, does everybody even, how do other schools feel about this guy? What I like to do is if it's a school that's known for maybe developing players or known for using that particular position well, it's a good sign. And 2 schools out west that do a great job with the tight end evaluation and development, Utah and UW, liked him a lot. So Miami fans should be pretty excited about Elija Lofton.
Greg, you touched on the production. That's essentially what stands out to me. And look, I've seen tight ends come to Miami with less than 10 catches their senior year. Production at the tight end position, even if they have talent, doesn't always translate. And the production definitely stands out to me. 30 catches, 756 yards, 11 receiving touchdowns last year. He also had the 7 rushing touchdowns. What do you make of that? So 18 touchdowns last year for the guy. Certainly impressive, only 100 yards rushing, but he's in there in the red zone. He finds a way to get in the end zone. You got to like guys like that, especially at that position.
No, I mean, Bishop Gorman is very creative in how they used him. And obviously those are goal line situations. He's not running for 80 yards. But it's a fun, unique offense. They're creative with it. Goal line situation, give him the ball. That's why I said, some schools feel like he can be a fullback, H-back type, because he's in that 6'2", 230 to 235. I haven't seen a new height and weight for him in a while. So I'm just going to call him 6'2" and 230-ish. But no, I mean, he's a tough kid. And I think you want to have a guy who's, been in the end zone before, right? That's kind of a big deal. Catches the ball. And you mentioned a lot of tight ends at the high school level. They're either, wide receivers who going to need to grow into a tight end, but they're more at the high school level. They play big wide receiver, or they're more just blocking who don't really flash a lot of high-end pass-catching skills. Whereas at Gorman, Elija is a true tight end. He plays the tight end position, and he's been very productive with it. So when you throw him the ball a few times, he's got experience catching it and running toward the end zone and, scoring touchdowns. I couldn't be more basic than that. He can catch the ball, run, and score touchdowns. And what else do you want in a tight end than those 3 things right there? Like I mentioned, also willing blocker, highly competitive, great football prodigy from Bishop Gorman, man. He's a nice pickup for sure. I like him, and I like the fit.
Yeah, and he caught 8 touchdown passes as a sophomore. So again, production has been there for him. Bishop Gorman as a program, what do you like about recruits essentially coming from that specific program, but just high-profile programs in general? We have some down here in South Florida, but getting a guy that comes through that program, the competition, I always think about the competition, not just who they go up against, but also in practices, the competition either at your own position and guys you see in practice. But what's it like essentially coming through that program and essentially how much more ready are they for the college game?
Yeah, no. So I think the last thing you just said, I think it speeds up your development. So you talk about being ready for the college game. Gorman, if you watch them play in practice, it's a mini college program. Their weight room is insane. They have like a 60-yard turf field inside their weight room that you walk out and it leads directly to their football field. They play high-level competition every year, not so much in league play. No one wants to play them in league play, but out of league, I mean, they're going to play everybody. They'll take on anyone, anytime. I think they're playing out west this year. Played Monterey Day last year. They're playing Corona Centennial, another perennial power team. They'll play on Miami Central. They've played St. Thomas Aquinas before. They'll take on an Allen, Texas. They'll literally go anywhere. They'll play at St. Francis. Name a school, and they will play them. So they're extremely well coached. They are, from a schematic standpoint, they run college sets on both sides of the ball. It's radical watching just how prepared they are. Ton of, film room tape study at the high school level, right? So we can talk about translation to the college level. These guys already understand weight program nutrition. They know schematics, every type of thing. Just talking to Elija, he's already seen every type of defense that you're going to throw at him because they practice against a team that plays multiple fronts. They go under center. What a shock, right? You rarely see anything under center now. So, he plays in different offensive schemes. It's all about being prepared. And like I said, you mentioned before in practice, going against the best of the best every single day in practice. They have high-level wide receiver DBs. I can't speak highly enough of Gorman and how they do things. And like I said, perennial top 5, they're number 2 right now preseason. It's, all that does, I think it fast forwards your development and your progress. So you get to college and you're not going to be overwhelmed.
So he's going to join a Miami tight end group that has some other young guys, some highly talented guys the last couple of years. Riley Williams and Jackson Carver coming in this recent year. And then before that, Jaleel Skinner, and I really have high hopes for Elijah Arroyo having a breakout year this year. Cam McCormick could come back for another year if he wants to stay in college, but I would assume he's going to move on. But some young talent in that tight end room. Greg, I do want to touch on this before we wrap it up. Vincent Shaver, you touched on the competition that they face. They're going to face Miami Central on September 1st. I highly recommend everybody to watch that game. Miami has a commit for Central, linebacker Vincent Shavers, that'll go up against Lofton. And I'm curious about your thoughts on Lofton against linebackers. That's the mismatch. That's the thing that tight ends always face. How do they do against linebackers? Maybe what you can say about it. I know you touched on his strength and his ability to kind of make plays inside the red zone, but maybe how does he fare against linebackers? Because certainly that's the matchup you got to win if you're a good tight end.
Yeah. He kills linebackers, right? For me, like whether you're playing, I'm so old school. Remember that game Tecmo Bowl? This is way before PS, like the tight end's always open. And you go watch a little, whether it's Pop Warner, U5 football, or even at the NFL, the tight ends are always open. I'm like, man, throw the ball to the tight end every single time that you can't cover them. I think most linebackers, very few linebackers, if you're an elite linebacker on third down, you're usually rushing the quarterback. So when you go to these camps and you see these linebackers, I always feel bad for the linebackers having to cover, in space, a running back or a tight end, and you see them, getting 10 yards of separation. You watch the video and the linebacker's not even in the screen anymore. It's hard to do that because these guys just aren't experienced, and even safeties. It's a hard cover. I say all that to say this, man. Elija, he torches linebackers. He gets open in 7-on-7 play, whether he's being covered by a DB. So you match up a linebacker who is not used to covering, right? He's used to going forward, not backpedaling and having to turn and run and open up and do all that kind of thing. So, Elija's a really tough cover, as most elite tight ends are, especially at the high school level.
Great insight, Greg. I'm going to let you get going. I've got a game of Tecmo Super Bowl I'm going to fire up now that you got me motivated for it. But I appreciate it, man. It's always good talking to you.
Good talking to you also, Chris. Thanks for having me.